suspend a Rift Bolt. And then turn 2, you would play your Arena of Glory, sacrifice your Seal of Fire, have your Rift Bolt go off, and then utilize any one number of your burn spells, Lava Spike, Lightning Bolt, Bolt Wave, Skewer the Critics, and essentially you can tap Arena of Glory for 2 mana. One of the mana you would use for the burn spell that you would play after either Rift Bolt or Seal of Fire. And then with the last remaining mana, you would play Chandra's Incinerator, which would have haste, and then you could attack with it. So you have a 6/6 trample attacker on turn 2. And you've already dealt, 5 or 6 damage, so turn 2 you've done 12 damage. Pretty significant, but unfortunately, this combo never happened. I got close to either doing it. I never got to do the turn 2 thing. Either I got, in some way the combo got interacted with and I couldn't do it, or something happened. But it just, either it was variance and I couldn't assemble it, because obviously this is a pretty significant number of cards. You have to have Chandra's Incinerator in hand, a mountain or a fetch land, an Arena of Glory, a Rift Bolt or a Seal of Fire, and then you have to have another burn spell, so you do kind of, and there is a lot of redundancy, so, but it is, obviously there were a lot of times where I had like a mountain or something, and I had like a Barbarian Ring instead of Arena of Glory or something, so it's hard to kind of assemble all the pieces, so it never happened. I didn't necessarily expect it to, but I got close. I got very close. But I got clobbered. Game 1, I played against mono white control, like prison control, and he had Isochron Scepter and Orum's Chant, and basically locked me in the first game. In the first game, I think he imprinted Path of Exile, and then exiled my Chandra's Incinerator and my Monastery Swiftspear. Obviously he had to do those in 2 separate turns, but still. And then he had it was like something of wisdom. It was some enchantment that basically prevented his life total from changing from 1. And I don't have any, this is a mono red build, so I have no enchantment removal, so I just conceded that game. And then in the next game, he imprinted Orum's Chant on Isochron Scepter. I had a Smash to Smithereens in hand, but I had 3 mana on my turn. I had cast Seal of Fire. He did something. He reprieved it, I believe. So it went back to my hand. I recast it. So of my 3 mana, I had tapped 2 to play Seal of Fire, and then I had 1 mana open. And then on his turn, he imprinted Orum's Chant on Isochron Scepter, so I only had 1 mana open. And he had 4 mana, so he had 2 mana open. So basically, I conceded at that point, and he kept saying like, oh, like we should play it out, but like I think there's no way for me to win, because at my untap, I can't respond to the Orum's Chant on the Isochron Scepter, because I didn't have enough mana to cast Smash to Smithereens at that time. And then when I untapped, he could, I guess, like, so the thing is, if he proactively, well, no, because, he would have 2 mana open. So yeah, he would have to throw in order for me to have, he would have had to have proactively, or, like, done the Orum's Chant. He would have had to pay the 2 on Isochron Scepter to cast Armed Chant proactively, and then I could have responded to it with Smash to Smithereens to have gotten rid of it. But like, you know, even so, like he had in his main deck a card to prevent his life total from changing from 1. He had Leyline of Sanctity in his sideboard, which he said after the fact. I think I was doomed to lose that game no matter what, especially with like an unoptimized burn build where I have cards like Chandra's Incinerator and stuff, things that can just be, under the wrong circumstances, can just be duds. So I think I was doomed to lose that game. Unfortunately, that was an incredibly hard game for me to fight through. I only have things to destroy, artifacts, not enchantments like Leyline of Sanctity and the enchantment that prevents his life total from changing from 1 and stuff like that. So I think even if I had played it out, even if I'm remembering it wrong, or even if there was a way for me to destroy the Isochron Scepter and prevent him from time walking me every turn, I think I still lose that game because he had enough in his arsenal that I think it would have been incredibly difficult to win. He was nice enough, but I don't know, I really didn't appreciate him like trying to urge me to play it out, because that's, you know, I just don't think I think that's just an exercise in futility to try to play that out. It would have been no fun for me and all fun for him, and like that's fine. Like I feel bad if he just wants to play things out. That's fine, but like that would have been miserable for me. And you know, maybe I was being a little bit of a bad sport, but I just didn't have any interest in playing that out, to see what would have happened, because I feel like it would have just been a long, arduous process to watch myself slow. You know, if I wanted to see a guy sit there and play with himself, I'd hop on chat roulette, you know. So that was a joke. Everybody can play Magic the way they want to play. I just, in that moment, I didn't want to watch. I didn't want to get time walked every turn and watch him slowly put together his win. So I conceded. I think that, you know, I don't think that that's like a bad. I don't think I was necessarily being a bad sport. I think that was a fine concession. I don't think I was being a bad sport. And then the next game, so I was kind of in a bad mood because that kind of threw me off, and I felt like I was being a bad sport. But now that I reflect on it, I don't think I was being like a sore sport or anything. You know, he had won the game. He had an orange charm and an Isochron Scepter. And I have no way to really. I again, based on what I remember, I don't think there was a way for me to do that unless he made a big mistake, which maybe I should have played that out. But at the same time, like, again, even if I removed that, he had plenty in his arsenal to disrupt my game plan pretty easily. So I was already kind of tilted, and then I go into the next game, and like, I was the person sits down, and they were already like, they saw that I had like my red deck box. They must have seen some of my cards because they're like, oh, you're playing Burn. And I was like, yeah, and they were just kind of like belly aching, like, oh, why are you playing Burn? Like, oh no, like this, you know, my life total matters, like all this other stuff. And I was like, I don't know, like I was like, okay, like, whatever. And then game 1, like I demolished them, and they were just like sitting there, and like they were kind of like pouty and like really upset, and like they're, you know, whatever, and like, you know, it was just hard to communicate with them. And then I didn't get any information from game 1. They basically played a couple pain lands and then passed the turn and didn't do anything. Game 2 and game 3, they demolished me. It was like some sort of like cheat out Griselbrand, and then I'm trying to remember what they did. They cheat out Griselbrand, and then they like pumped like all they needed was Griselbrand in play, and that basically beats my entire deck. But they got Griselbrand out, and then they kept, I'm trying to remember what they did. They cheated out Griselbrand by like Summoners pacting into some creature, and then neoforming into another creature, and then, or I think they Summoners pacted into a creature, and then neoformed into Gristlebrand, and then Gristlebrand, they would, not pump, but they would, like, use Gristlebrand's ability, paying 7 life, and drawing 7 cards, and I'm trying to remember what their win condition was, what they kept digging for. I can't remember. It was some sort of combo. Yeah, it was some sort of, like, cheesy combo where they just kept pumping themselves for life, and then I forget what they did, what they were looking for, but there was a specific, they could have, it was basically like, they had to draw into certain cards to get the win instantly, and so they did that, and they won, basically both of those games. So that sucked, especially, I don't know, I hate it when people bellyache about, like, me playing Burn, and it was just like, oh, like, and then, like, they were like, oh, like, you're gonna beat me so easily, like, blah, 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 and then to, like, I don't know, I felt, and then, like, I kept hearing them, like, after our game was done, I heard them in 3 separate occasions be like, oh, I beat Burn, and it's like, you didn't beat Burn, you did beat Burn, yes, but you didn't beat, like, real, optimized, modern Burn, you beat, like, this cheesy, memey, Chandra's Incinerator Burn. I don't know, it just kind of, it hurt my feelings to, like, listen to this person who was, like, bellyaching about me playing Burn, and then they destroy me, and, game 2, so game 2, I just finally see their combo, and it was pretty cool, whatever, and then in game 3, they just, like, Leyline of Sanctity, and I could have pumped, or I could have fought through it a little, but unfortunately, like, a lot of the spells I realized, a lot of the burn spells, I can't target myself to, give, like, Monastery Swiftspear's prowess triggers, so without a target with Leyline of Sanctity, Leyline of Sanctity really hurts this deck specifically because, yeah, other than, like, Seal of Fire, pretty much all your spells need a target, and it needs to be the opponent, like Rift Bolt and Lightning Bolt, like that kind of stuff, but I think I had, like, a Skewer in hand, which I couldn't play for 1 mana because my opponent hadn't lost life, I did, and stuff, and Bolt Wave, it's, target opponent, or each opponent, so, or wait, yeah, Bolt Wave gets around it, so, it was, I know, in the instance I'm talking about, it was Skewer the Critics, where I couldn't use Skewer to deal them damage because they hadn't lost life, I couldn't pay the reduced cost, so I just was caught in awkward positions, and it's Leyline of Sanctity against Burn, so it was just tough. But it really sucked to listen to them, like, against in 3 different occasions, like, as I'm playing my other matches, they're walking around, like, just like, I beat Burn. And then, the last game was against Titan, and it's a guy I really like, that opponent. He's a good guy, and he's, actually encouraging me to play Pauper, so I think I'm gonna go play Pauper this Sunday, at the local game store with him. I think his friends play too, so we're gonna go play, Pauper, which I'm really excited about. I've been looking up a lot of videos, and I'm trying to decide on what deck I want to play, and I'm thinking Poison Storm, but it's gonna be, I don't know, it's gonna be a lot to do in paper, so if anybody has any Pauper deck recommendations, I'd love to hear them. But yeah, I played against him, and he destroyed me as well. He was playing Titan, and he's a really good player. Yeah, like game 1, I got a Chandra's Incinerator out on turn. I think in both of our games, I got a Chandra's Incinerator out on turn 2, but didn't haste it. But even if I had, I think in every scenario where I played Chandra's Incinerator, even if I had hasted it, every single one of those games I would have lost, which was pretty upsetting. So it's like, even if the deck had done the thing it sets out to do, I still would have lost, which is depressing. So yeah, that is my Tuesday report. I'm sorry that it's coming out on a Thursday, but yesterday I felt like shit. I felt terrible. I didn't sleep well, and I was like, I hadn't slept well the night before either because I had hockey. So it was just like running on no batteries, was exhausted, out of my mind. And then Tuesday night, after I played, I went 0-3, and I was just in a really bad mood after everything that had happened. Again, I bellyache all the time about Magic players being sore losers, and, lo and behold, I am kind of a sore loser myself, but, games 1 and game 3 is against a guy I really like. He's a good dude, nice person, so, like, that didn't bother me, and he's very courteous. I'm not the smartest person in the room, but, he's very patient, and considerate. I missed a trigger or something, or I thought my Dragon's Rage Channeler had Delirium, and, I just made a mistake. I thought like Rift Bolt was an instant or something, so I was like, oh, and it has Delirium, and it was like, and, very politely, like, we double-checked, and it was like, yep, you're right. Whereas, like, other opponents can get kind of, like, very upset about, like, small mistakes and stuff like that, which I make every game I play. And game 1, my opponent for match 1, I should say, my opponent for match 1 was a nice guy. I just was kind of upset that, I don't know, I think I took it a little personally, which I shouldn't have, when he asked if I wanted to play it out, because I didn't have an interest in doing that. I think I think I was polite enough, but I think, like, internally, when I responded to him, I think I was very, I probably didn't come off like a sore loser. I think I was just like, yeah, no, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But internally, I felt like I was being one, because, like, internally I felt kind of more upset than I should have been. But, like, I don't think I came off that way, which is good. But game 2 really upset me. The way my opponent, like, started before we even rolled dice or anything. Like, the first words out of his mouth were like, "Oh my God, you're playing Burn," and, like, in a very, condescending tone. And he really bellyached and, like, leaned into how upsetting it was that I was playing Burn, and how it was a bad matchup for him, and I was gonna beat him, like, super easily, and then to turn around, win the game, and then to, like, brag about it, like, to 3 different people within earshot of me, was kind of, again, I'm probably taking it too personally. He was probably just happy he beat a deck that he thinks he has a bad matchup against, which I don't know how he thinks he has a bad matchup against it when he won on turn 2 in both of in games 2 and 3. Even with, or maybe it was turn 3. So it's like, Burn has a hard enough time winning on turn 3. So, enough about me being a sore loser. I enjoyed playing it. I think I definitely could use some, I don't think the deck needs tweaking. I think the deck is fine. I think I just need more reps with it to really get it. But we'll see. Because I think there were some lines I definitely could have played differently. So I think I just need to play it, a bit more. And at the end of the day, it is a Burn deck. It's pretty basic. Just 3 go face, and then an attack with, in this case, a Chandra's Incinerator. But yeah, I wanna give it another go, because it seems fun. But yeah, that is the Tuesday report. And I think I'm gonna make a video about the Final Fantasy cards that have been not spoiled, but they were showcased, I guess would be a good term to use for it. The Final Fantasy cards that were showcased, some of them are really, really exciting and cool, and I really, really want to talk about them. And some of them are kind of meh. Something that is very meh is the pricing on a lot of the stuff for the Final Fantasy set. Obviously, I think they're inflating the prices a little bit because they know Final Fantasy is a very popular intellectual property. So, but yeah, I can save all that conversation for that video, but I think in my next video, it'll be, it won't be like this. It'll probably just be screen capture of me, like, looking at the cards online, probably in Mythic Spoiler or something, wherever I can find a database of, those cards that have been spoiled. But I'm, like, so excited for a couple of them. Specifically, like, anybody who watches this channel knows, I released Final Fantasy XIV ASMR videos. They didn't do too great. People didn't really watch them as much as the Magic stuff, but I love Final Fantasy XIV, like, so much. And I am so excited for a couple of the spoilers, because they are characters that I really, really like. I skipped a lot of cutscenes in that game, but Shadowbringers, there's a character called Emmett Selk from the Shadowbringers expansion, and that expansion I watched a lot more cutscenes on, specifically the ones featuring him, because he's a really fucking cool character. And he's getting his own card, and it's really fucking cool, and I can't wait to build, like, I can't wait to build a commander deck for him, and then also, like, he could be powerful enough for constructed, maybe, because he's basically, his transformed version is basically Yawgmoth's Will on a stick, and Yawgmoth's Will is a very I mean, it's so good, isn't it? It's, like, banned in, I think, either Legacy or Vintage or something, but it's such a good card. It's banned in some formats, so, like, that on a 6/6 vigilance creature can't, I don't know. I'm excited. I'm so excited. And Y'shtola got a card. I'll save all this conversation for that video because, yeah, for now, I'll just leave it at this. Thank you all so much for watching. We're at, like, 498 subscribers. We're 2 away from, or I think, actually, let me check. So I can get you a live count, but last I saw we were at 498. Yeah, we're at 498, so we're 2 away from 500, which is incredible and awesome and super exciting. I can't believe we're that close. So thank you all so much for watching, for subscribing. It's awesome. It's so cool that people are watching and commenting and enjoying and having a good time in the channel, enjoying the videos, whatever. I appreciate you all. You are the reason I make videos at all. And thank you for watching, as always. Catch you in the next one.